Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, I, Shivansh Bansal, co-founder at Law Community, welcome you all on Lawyers Speak. We have invited another amazing guest, Miss Parvathi Menon. She is practicing advocate and founding partner of Menon and Bhatia Advocates and Solicitors. Apart from this, she is also an extraordinary writer and penned some papers on socio-economic factors in health. Starving India, food security vis-a-vis right to food in the Indian context, and many more. We welcome ma'am on our platform and going to interact with us to know more about her journey and learn from her. So my first question is, how was your experience at Jamia Millia as being a law student, and why did you opted law as a career?
Okay, so that comprises two questions there, right? So to tell you about why I opted law as a career, it's completely a matter of fluke. So in 12th standard, I had commerce and had decided that I would probably go for BCom in Delhi University. But my father was like, you should always have an option B. So I was like, okay, so let's explore it. Probably after I finished the 12th standard exam, some of the career options that I was looking into, law was one of them. So when I started preparing for it, I actually quite fell in love with it. Plus, I was always good in elocution and debates in school. So I thought maybe this is my calling. So I got admission in both law and BCom. But then I thought I should stick to law because even though it was just a matter of luck, but I had fallen into it. Maybe that was my calling, and I never looked back. That is why I opted law, because nobody in my family was from law background. So I never really had any aspirations of being a lawyer except for liking law related movies like How to Kill a Mockingbird or something of that sort. But other than that, there was nothing. So that's how I came into this profession. Then, as far as my experience in Jamia is concerned, Jamia was my experience there was the most amazing. That was the best phase of my life, to tell you honestly. It comprised of all the assignments, moods, papers, internships, everything. The faculty was so helpful and knowledgeable, and plus we had a vibrant bunch of college people who were always into, like, discussion. You have discussion on various law related issues, and every one of us was so eager to step into this world and help out at the utopian world that we wanted to create by getting into this world and helping the needy. So yeah, so everyone were like, we had an amazing time there.
Can you share about your experience of masters from University of Toronto, and what advice would you like to give to the people who wants to do master from foreign university?
Okay, so my experience at University of Toronto, again, out of world experience, I must say, because when you are exposed to a kind of learning here that is completely different there, so your mind just boggles, like, how is this possible? How are you getting to, how are they teaching us like this? The vast jurisprudence that I was exposed to, and the kind of arguments that the lawyers advance there is so helpful even today in my litigation practice, because many a times we don't think of it in that way. For example, just a single provision would have various interpretations, right? So maybe they have explored certain interpretation which we have not, and so that really helps us in exploring while dealing with cases and putting forth arguments before the court. So that was truly amazing. And if I tell you about faculty, the faculty there was so friendly and so helpful. They would often take us out on coffee and snacks, and we would have, like, every evening we would go for drinks, and they would explore, they would ask us, like, especially international students, because they know that we are alone there, so they try to help us in coping with a new environment there. And so it was a friendly bunch. We cannot even imagine, because in India we have that distance between teacher and student, right? A level of respect is there, but over there it's all very friendly. You don't call them ma'am or sir, you have to call them by their names. And you get to interact with them on a one-on-one basis. So that really was amazing. And plus, obviously, the jurisprudence there was, my experience, the knowledge that I gained from there was totally immeasurable almost. And to come to the second question, that is the advice that I would give to people who want to pursue for an LLM. I would suggest that aside from being good in academics, that is kind of given. You have to be good in academics. Then other things that you can do is you really have to ensure that you take part in extracurricular activities, and also if you get a chance, do internships with in the social work circle, because that really counts. Okay, and try to have a more focused CV. For example, if you want to pursue an LLM in corporate law or maybe any other stream of law, try to have a CV which is more focused on that. For example, you do moots which are more focused on probably corporate law, and you write papers which is related to corporate law. All of that, so that you have you show from your CV that you kind of have that focus towards corporate law, and get as many papers published as possible. That is always one of the strongest point that could set you apart from other people. And one more tip that I would give is probably when you are applying for LLMs in foreign universities, what you can do is when you have to write a personal statement, ensure that you are not just listing your achievements in that statement. Give a personal anecdote. Tell them that you have seen some injustice happening. Tell them that something you helped in some legal circle. If you write that personal anecdote and not include your achievements, kind of give you a human face to your statement, right? So that really brings out, because most of the people, they make this blunder of just writing about your achievements. Okay, I won this moot court, I was best speaker, I was presented so many papers. That is not what personal statements are about. So if you could include some personal anecdote, that would really, really put you on a different scale than other applicants.
After graduation, how did you pursue your career in law, and what challenges did you face in the nascent stage of your career?
So after coming back from Toronto, I knew that I wanted to pursue a career in litigation, as corporate law was not really my call. So I started working with a law office, and they had a lot of women related matters with them. So that attracted me quite a lot. So I worked there for like almost 2 years. And after that, I saw this notification from NCW, that is National Commission for Women. So I thought, because I have developed an interest in women related issues, I thought I should probably pursue something more in it, and just to get a bit of an experience from the government side also as to how they tackle various issues related to women. I thought I should give it a try. So I got through there, and then I worked there for a year, and I was exposed to various kind of issues that I had not even imagined. For example, women who were deserted in NRI land by their husbands. So some of that was a completely new area for me when I was put in there. So I had seen the first-hand account of the plight which was faced by these women when they go through such a traumatic time. So that was helpful. And then I thought, probably just sticking to government, I could help out these women by venturing into practice on my own, because now I've had sufficient exposure both from the litigation side as well as from the government side. So I thought of starting my own practice, and that's how we started our own firm. Now, as far as the challenges that I faced in the nascent stages of my career, for a first generation lawyer, there are a lot of challenges that you face when you're pursuing a career in litigation. From being completely unaware about the court procedures and not having legal network, I have faced it all. And in addition to that, I also had a disadvantage of being an introvert, because I'm not that comfortable with people around. But litigation is all about networking and all about making as many contacts as possible. So that was quite challenging to me, and learning the code procedures from level zero. That was, again, because in law firms you have clerks and you have everyone to take care of your matter of procedures, but here you have to do it on your own. So you need to learn everything, you need to sharpen your basics. So everything was quite challenging, and it still continues to be. Law, as you know, is all the time challenging, all the time thrilling, but it's never monotonous. That's one thing I can say.
So, ma'am, you have worked as a consultant in National Human Rights Commission, I guess. What is your opinion on the condition of transgenders in India, and what significant changes can be done to uplift them?
Okay, so if you ask people in India, what they know about trans people. Most of them would answer that they've seen them begging near traffic signals or inside trains. Some people even start complaining about their bad behavior. That is the general perception about transgenders, right? So now, if you ask me about the condition, as far as the studies are concerned, NHRC had conducted a study in Delhi, NCR, and UP, and they had found that about 92 percentage of transgenders were deprived from right to practice in any form of economic activity in the country, which even qualified people, qualified transgenders, were also refused jobs just because they were transgenders, and only 5% of these transgenders had even completed their graduation. So transgenders, we know that they face stigma, systematic exclusion in education and employment. As a result, some of them feel that they have no alternative but to turn to sex work, right? HIV is also prevalent in transgender community, and it is almost 25 times higher than the national rate. So Article 14 and 15 that we study in Constitution so much, okay, we all have right to equality, we have this, we have that. All of that is a dream for them. I'm not saying that no work has been done, and the picture is not as bleak as it was before, probably 10 years back. Things are changing, things are improving. For example, after the Nalsa judgment, that is Nalsa versus Union of India, and the Navtesh Singh Johar judgment, a lot of change has been seen. And plus, you have the transgender bill which has been passed by both the houses of the parliament, though it is very controversial because some of the aspects have not been included. For example, where they are required to register as trans man or trans woman, whatever that is, and all of that is controversial. At least we are talking about it. That in itself is a huge progress, because 10 years back we were not even discussing about them. We were in a complete oblivion. Okay, so now people, even though I know that things are bad and people need to understand, people have to be taught, and the narrative has to change, and all of that is not possible in a day. I think pop culture would be really a good way to tackle the mindset of people. For, if you've seen, I don't know if you've seen it, but there has been this Wix ad, if you've seen, like a trans woman and a daughter. It was a very emotional ad, and many people could relate to it. So that could be one of the ways where you could, change the narrative and change people's idea about what transgender, who transgenders are. So thought process need to change definitely, and I'm hoping that that will happen in future.
Since inspection, women have always been the victim of inequality in the social fabric. Law as a field is also not remain untouched from this. Do you think the image has changed now, or it is still needs to be improved?
As far as law is concerned, there have been various laws for upliftment of women. Okay, we don't see outrightly any law which is discriminating women. Okay, the real danger, for example, there were previously laws such as, in Succession Act. If you could see Hindu Succession Act, there were many laws previously which were kind of which treated men and women in a different manner, right? All of that has been abolished. So outrightly, we don't see that discrimination as far as the law part is concerned. Okay, but the problem comes when, when facially neutral laws are there. For example, now some laws, they don't seem per se discriminatory, but as soon as you apply it, it becomes sort of discriminatory. For example, if I give you an example, I recently wrote a paper on this. So this is like, for example, in colleges we require 75% attendance, right? Otherwise you are barred from writing your exams. And now if you take the situation of a woman who is pregnant, she would obviously require a lot of time, and she may take leaves, and she may not fulfill this attendance criteria. Now on the face of it, attendance of 75 percentage is mandatory. That does not seem discriminatory, right? Because it applies to both men and women. But the conditions of women are different, right? For a pregnant woman, men can't be pregnant, women get pregnant, right? So the effect of that law is different on women. But the courts in India have always interpreted it in a manner that women, or this rule will apply on women also. Even though Supreme Court in various judgments have said that if the effect of any law is such that it is discriminatory upon any certain sect, then that would qualify as violating your equality clause. But in case of these gender neutral laws, if you see, it is kind the effect of this gender neutral law is that it becomes more onerous upon women by not taking into consideration their condition. But the courts have been interpreting it in that manner. Now, as far as implementation of these laws are concerned, that is a whole new issue altogether. The ground reality is completely different. Now, if I were to give you an example, for example, Section 146 of Indian Evidence Act states that you are not supposed to ask about prior sexual history of any women in rape matters, right? But I assure you, at least 90% of cases in cross examination, most of the questions would be how many men have you slept with, were you with this person, were you with that, even though there is an express bar. The notions of who an ideal woman, that runs at large in the court. And now if you had read this recent judgment of the Karnataka High Court, it has created a huge uproar also, because Karnataka High Court said that a judge claimed that women who get raped do not sleep after the act is completed. This just points to the fact that, the narrative needs to change. Even though we have brought in many laws for the upliftment of women, the implementation of it is still questionable. So yeah, so I feel both the gender neutral laws need to be changed, and the implementation, a strict implementation, has to be ensured.
So, what would be your advice or suggestion for those professionals who have just started their career in law, or to law students who are still studying and wants to enter in the field of litigation?
As far as advice is concerned, my advice would be to, even though it is nerve wracking and you might face anxiety and all of those issues, but you do not lose hope. Because despite many difficulties, it is one of the most rewarding careers out there. I assure you, every day is a thrilling experience. It never gets monotonous. You're never thinking that, oh, today the same old job, the same old boring place. Nothing. If you pursue litigation, every day is a new challenge. Every day you're on your toes. So how cool is that? How many people get a chance of doing that, where you are constantly challenged, constantly, you have to, when a judge puts a question to you and you're constantly on your toes, you can never be comfortable. And that in itself is such a rewarding career. I don't think a 9 to 5 job, any other job for that matter, would give that thrilling experience, which a lawyer in court actually get. It's another feeling only. My second advice would be probably to keep yourself updated about all the latest developments, because it keeps constantly changing. So you need to be abreast of the new developments, so as to be above the rest of the lawyers. That there are so many lawyers, you have to cut the competition in some way. You have to keep yourself updated. Do extensive reading all the time. And the last tip would be probably maintain a camaraderie with your almads, with your nazirs, because they really help you out in district courts. If you want a flourishing career in litigation, ensure that you have a good rapport with these people, because they are very helpful, they are nice people, and they guide you also. So if you can maintain that, that would really come in handy in your litigation.
So, what changes do you see in the legal sector post COVID-19, and how your firm is adapting to this scenario?
So the pandemic has definitely brought in a lot of changes. Remote working has surely been the new in thing right now. The most important thing that the law is learning from this pandemic is probably the need to have alternative means and methods to do our jobs, right? So the pandemic has made it necessary for the advocates and judges who have never used technology before, such as video conferencing, to conduct essential functions of a test. No longer can we just say that, okay, we are not adept, we can't read on the computers. We are now in that situation where everybody is adapting to it. I think even after this pandemic passes, there will be a change, and we will be more adaptive. We will be receptive towards the information technology. Now, as far as our firm is concerned, our firm has tried to deal with it by making small changes. One such example, if I were to give you, I would probably say that this COVID-19 situation, I'm sure it would bring in a lot of breach of contract issues, right? Because many people have not been able to fulfill their part of contract. So now, if you rush to court, lengthy court procedure, it will take minimum of 3 to 4 years for your matter to get settled. So obviously, alternative dispute resolution is the only way to go forward if you want a speedy and cost-effective mechanism, right? So our firm, what we are trying to do is right now ensuring that we provide counseling services as and mediation services also, so that a lot of these legal issues, without going to court itself, it gets settled, because it is both cost effective as well as time saving, right? So that has been our focus on, so that we could develop this out of court settlement kind of approach. That is how we are dealing with it.
How can an organization like Law Community prove beneficial to the legal fraternity? And what new avenues are expected by legal professionals such as yourself?
Like I said before, networking is the key, right? Networking is the new mantra. So if anyone wants to succeed in legal profession, you need to have a solid network base. If you're especially if you're a first generation lawyer, because first generation lawyers have it tough, real tough. You may not have that social circle, you may not have that proper social network which is required. Further, if you are good at law, you're good at debating, you're good at elocution, that alone won't suffice if you are an introvert. That again poses second challenge. So if you are an introvert and you are a lawyer, that is like a tough combination, and that's where your community, that is law community, comes into picture. Law community provides this kind of platform, right, where you could interact with experts, where you could, without coming face to face, so that many people have this fear of interacting with people face to face. So when you give them a website like option, and when you give them, I believe you're also providing WhatsApp groups support, right? So yeah, so that kind of gives you help, right, to get connected to these people. So that really help, that really comes in handy to people like me, I would say, because we are introverts. We need that kind of space, so that we could interact, at the same time we could develop. So law community provides me that. Okay, if I were a student, law community would definitely provide me that. My expectation as far as from you is that I hope you're able to manage to get people from all fields, not just like those glamorous areas, for example your corporate law, criminal law, civil law basics, but you're able to get experts from other, you know certain fields, like probably like artificial intelligence, which is developing, right? If you could get an expert from them, that would really help out, because many people, their interests are varied, right? So many people we have, how many we have, like 135 crore people here, and so many lawyers pursuing, right? So many people have different interests. If I just hope that you're able to manage to bring in experts from all of these areas of law, so that everybody gets an opportunity to connect with them, everybody gets an opportunity to connect with the experts and get guidance from them, which I'm sure you are doing. That ways, I feel law community is a really great idea, and after perusing the website, I've really found it to be having a good potential. So keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for having such an amazing interaction with us. And I believe it will definitely gonna benefit a lot of young minds. And we are delighted to have a time with you. And law community is grateful for this. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Pleasure was all mine interacting with you people.